First of all, let me agree with you that 9/11 should have and could have been prevented. It was an issue of connecting information that was available. I quoted, I'm not sure you were in the room at the time, but I quoted from the Joint Inquiry of Congress that looked back on this, and I want to highlight one thing. There was a terrorist. He was a foreigner. He was in the United States. He was planning to carry out the 9/11 attacks. And what the 9/11 Commission and the Joint Inquiry found is that person communicated back to Al-Qaeda overseas, and we failed to detect it.
In early 2000, NSA analyzed communications involving Khalid Walid bin Atash in a suspected terrorist facility in the Middle East linked to Al-Qaeda. The FBI determined, based on toll records obtained after September 11th, that Khalid had been in the United States at that time. Some of these communications met NSA reporting thresholds and were reported to the FBI, CIA, and other customers. Some did not. That is according to the 9/11 Congressional Inquiry Report. During the House Senate Intelligence Committee, co-chair Portagos and Senator Dianne Feinstein read a provocative paragraph from a letter that had been sent to the House and Senate Intelligence Committee in 2004. The gist of the letter was that key 9/11 intelligence failings were the result not primarily of budgetary, structural, or organizational problems, but rather of bad decisions by individuals, unelected, unaccountable officials who made an art of outlasting their elected superiors. The letter came from the former Deputy Chief of Station of the Bin Laden Issue Unit, codename Alec Station, Michael Scheuer. The full text of the letter, which for the first time lays out 10 crucial and specific failures by the intelligence community, has never appeared in print anywhere. The Atlantic Monthly in 2004 acquired a copy, key sections in which I will read. 1. Mid to late 1996, CIA's Bin Laden unit acquired detailed information about the careful, professional manner in which Al-Qaeda was seeking to acquire nuclear weapons. There could be no doubt after this date that Al-Qaeda was in deadly earnest in seeking nuclear weapons. The report was initially suppressed within CIA and then published in a drastically shortened form. 3 officers of the agency's Bin Laden cadre protested this decision in writing and forced an internal review. It was only after this review that this report was provided in full to community leaders, analysts, and policymakers. 2. December 1996. From a CIA officer detailed to another intelligence community agency and serving overseas, the NSA, the Bin Laden unit learned of the availability of a communications conduit used by Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, his satellite phone. The other intelligence community agency refused to exploit the conduit and threatened legal action against the agency officer who advised of its existence. The NSA, led by Deputy Director Barbara McNamara. This officer bravely continued to supply the information, and I asked senior agency officers to intervene with other intelligence community agency, the NSA. There ensued a desultory interagency discussion without resolution. The CIA was forced to devise its own ability to exploit the communications conduit and secured about half of the available material. The other intelligence agency, NSA, was able to secure the other half, but refused to share it. This capability was later lost because of an August 1998 leak to the media by the U.S. military. 3. December 96 to June 99. The CIA's Bin Laden unit repeatedly and formally requested assistance from the U.S. military to help plan operations against Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. We needed and asked for specific special operations officers. After pressing for 18 months, we were sent 2 non-special operations individuals who had experience only on Iran. The Bin Laden unit received no support from senior agency officials vis-a-vis the U.S. military. 4. February 96 to May 1998. The Bin Laden unit and several other CIA officers requested transcripts rather than summaries of electronic collections against al-Qaeda. Verbatim transcripts were operationally useful. Summaries are much less so, and they are usually not timely. The answer to these requests in every case was no. At one point, the senior operations officers for an intelligence community component said that the National Security Act of 1947 gave her agency control of raw signals intelligence, that she would not pass such material to CIA. He's talking about Barbara McNamara, the NSA. 5. August to September of 1997. For most of a year, the Bin Laden unit prepared an operation in a foreign city that was set to come to fruition in late summer 1997. The unit's lead U.S.-based officer on this operation was an extraordinarily able analyst from another IC component, intelligence community component. She knew the issue cold. Days before the operation occurred, the intelligence community component ordered her back to its headquarters. She protested, but was told she would not be promoted if she balked at returning. I protested to my superiors and to the 3 most senior officers of the intelligence community component who were then in charge of terrorism. All refused to intervene. The operation was much less exploited because of the loss of this officer. A year later, al-Qaeda destroyed U.S. facilities in the area near the foreign city of the underexploited operation. 6. April to May of 1998. The agency's Bin Laden unit was ordered disbanded and reduced to a small branch. This was done, so far as I know, without the knowledge of the DCI. When DCI found out about this plan, he intervened in May of 1998. By doing so, the DCI preserved the unit and dodged the bullet of having to explain to the American people why the agency thought Bin Laden was so little of a threat that it had destroyed the Bin Laden unit weeks before 2 U.S. embassies were demolished. Needless to say, the on-again, off-again signals about the unit's future status made for confusion, distraction, and much job hunting in the last few weeks before al-Qaeda's August 1998 attacks in East Africa. 7. May of 1998 to May of 99. The CIA officers working Bin Laden at headquarters and in the field gave the United States government about 10 chances to capture or kill Bin Laden with military means. In all instances, the decision was made that the intelligence was not good enough. This assertion cannot be debated publicly without compromising sources and methods. What can be said, however, is that in all these cases, there was more concern expressed by senior bureaucrats and policymakers about how international opinion would react to U.S. action than there was concerns about what might happen to Americans if they failed to act. Indeed, on one occasion, these senior leaders decided it was more important to avoid hitting a structure near Bin Laden's location with shrapnel than it was to protect Americans. 2 other points. The truth has not been fully told about the chance to militarily attack Bin Laden at a desert hunting camp being used by wealthy Gulf royals. And our best chance to capture Bin Laden, an operation which showed no U.S. hand, risked, or U.S. lives, and was endorsed by senior commanders of the Joint Special Operations Command at Fort Bragg, was canceled because senior officials from the agency, the executive branch, and other intelligence community components decided to accept assurances from an Islamic country, Yemen, that it would acquire Bin Laden from the Taliban. U.S. officials accepted these assurances despite the well-documented record of that country withholding help. Indeed, it was a record of deceit and obstruction. Regarding all issues pertaining to bin Laden between December of 96 and May of 98, the makers of this decision ignored the extensive documentary record that showed nothing but uncooperativeness from the Islamic country, and that is Saudi Arabia. August 1998. After the bombing of 2 U.S.-based embassies in East Africa, the senior CIA managers asked what the bin Laden unit needed most to enhance the attack against al-Qaeda. I again raised our dire need for verbatim reports derived from electronic collection. These senior managers ordered this to be arranged. After receiving less than a dozen such transcripts, the process stopped. Despite repeated requests, I failed to get the flow of data restored. Also, tragically, no member of the bin Laden unit was asked to testify before the State Department's accountability boards for the 1998 embassy bombings. This exclusion ensured that the systematic problems embedded in the intelligence community, which had become overwhelmingly clear before the 1998 al-Qaeda attacks, were not raised before the only pre-9/11 panel that might have been able to initiate remedial action. 9, June 1999. On moving to a new position, I forwarded a long memorandum to the agency's senior-most officers, some are still serving, describing an array of fixable problems that were plaguing America's attack on bin Laden, ones that the bin Laden unit had encountered but failed to remedy between and among intelligence community components. The problems outlined in the memorandum stood in the way of attacking bin Laden to the most effective extent possible. Many remain today. Insufficient or no support from other intelligence community components were highlighted in the memo, as were the issues of the grossly insufficient number of experienced officers assigned to bin Laden unit and the best mediocre performance of our intelligence allies, especially in Western Europe, in supporting U.S. efforts against bin Laden. I never received a response to this memorandum. 10, September 2004. In the CIA's core, U.S.-based bin Laden operational unit today, there were fewer Directorate of Operation officers with substantive expertise in al-Qaeda than there were on September 11, 2001. There has been no systematic effort to groom al-Qaeda expertise among Directorate of Operation officers since September 11. The excellent management team now running operations against al-Qaeda has been made repeated, detailed, and on-paper pleas for more officers to work against al-Qaeda, and have done so for years, not weeks or months, but have been ignored. The 10 points raised by Michael Scheuer here doesn't detail the lack of communication between Scheuer's bin Laden unit and to the FBI, which could have had a role in delaying or stopping partly the attacks of September 11, 2001. After Michael Scheuer was replaced with Richard Blee at the Bin Laden Issue Station, codenamed Alec Station, in December of 99, that disassociation between the agencies continued. In fact, pertinent information that wasn't shared with any agency, including the State Department, regarding 2 al-Qaeda operatives, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Awad Hazmi, were intentionally withheld from the FBI. That order came from the DCI, George Tenet. The NSA, who were running 2 operations, signals intelligence involving Osama bin Laden's satellite phone from 1992 to 1998, and an al-Qaeda communication sub located in Sana'a, Yemen from 1996 to 2001. All those transcripts were never shared with any agency or the State Department. They remain classified. The question is, why?